I gotta say, I'm genuinely excited about this one because this is the first time I get to review something bad. The Flash is kind of a disaster. I'll start by saying this. This movie as an experience is not that bad. I think it's alright. It's like fine. But when you know the whole context of the makings of this movie and stuff like those horrible CGI people at the end, which I'll get to, this movie is terrible. I do want to start by actually talking about like the parts of the movie that are in the movie. So, I'll start with that. The plot of this movie is honestly just really boring. The Flash is a fun character, sure, but it feels like everyone has kind of forgotten about every Flash story except like Flashpoint and Crisis on Infinite Earths. And, he dies in that one, so you gotta do Flashpoint every time. And the thing is, the Flashpoint thing, it kind of comes out of nowhere in the movie. Like, at the beginning of the movie, you get this opening battle, in which, yes, the Flash does put a baby in a microwave, and, like, it has nothing to do with anything. This is the type of stuff that I would expect from the opening to, like, the Flash TV show, where it's, like, just some random battle before the opening credits so that you can get into, the whole fun of it. In the movie, it's just kind of awkward because they include Batman and even Wonder Woman, who I don't think will ever be in another DC project, at least as Gal Gadot. So it's kind of a weird send-off for her to just appear for like 30 seconds and do nothing and then leave. And it not even be related to the story. It's a very strange opening. So then Barry actually does Flashpoint. I'm just gonna ignore everything else that happens in between because it's so unimportant and boring. But he does Flashpoint, and I just have to say, this is exactly what I'm going to address, the CGI in this movie. I've seen people rag on the opening bit where you see the Flash running and he's kind of just flailing his arms around in a way that nobody runs ever. But the choice that they used for this time travel thing, where you can see all of this stuff around him, like, coming towards him and disintegrating, it looks so stupid, and they do it so much. This is the place that the climax happens. The climax is terrible, but whatever. This is the place where the climax happens, and it looks goofy as hell. I never got over how stupid this whole place looks, but whatever. And this is where we get to the part of the movie that I don't entirely dislike. Listen, I know the humor was never going to be good, but just the idea of like a down-to-earth segment where we don't really have to fight Zod, who's the villain of this movie for no reason, I didn't mind it. I thought it was just, we get the two Ezra Millers. I can't believe that they put Ezra Miller in this movie twice over, but they did it. And the two of them bouncing off of each other is awkward, sure, but like, I don't know. I don't know why I didn't hate it. I kind of, when we get to the action later, it makes me wish that we were still doing these stupid shenanigans where it's like none of this is actually really that relevant. I like when the movie isn't doing the plot, I'll be honest. And I will say, this is one of those sins that the devil will read to me in hell. I hate to say it, I did laugh unironically like once or twice. I laughed at The Flash 2023. I am very ashamed of myself. The humor in this movie is not the worst. In fact, I'd say that the humor in Shazam 2 earlier this year was actually worse to me. But don't worry, because there's a lot of stuff that this movie does worse, such as the cameos. The cameos in this movie are really bad. And it's weird because even though Batman is meant to be like one of the main characters, Michael Keaton Batman, he really just feels like a cameo. Like, everyone was saying, oh, this is more of a Batman movie than it is a Flash movie. And, like, no, it's not. He really doesn't even have that much going on. And the fact that they bring him back and then kill him in the final battle is really funny. I mean, obviously he was never going to appear again, but it's like, he's so not memorable in this movie. To the people that were saying that, like, Batman is the best part of this movie, I'm sorry, I don't see it. I don't even care to talk about Batman. Let's just get to Supergirl, who is even weirder as an addition to this movie, because she has, like, 10 minutes of screen time, and at the same time it feels like she should be the main character. The villain of this movie is Zod, and in the climax it's like, why is The Flash, and also another The Flash, why are they even here? Supergirl is like Zod's hero. They are against each other, and having the Flash in the finale beating up like goons is so strange when Supergirl is the one who actually has shit going on. Sasha Calle in this movie is fine, and I really hope they don't immediately boot her from DC, but like, why is this her introduction? Why is she a side character in a movie where Zod is the main villain? She should be the main character, right? And then she also dies. See, while it's confusing that Zod is the main villain and yet the Flash is the main character, the Flash is the main character, and so the other two get kicked out. It's a weird climax to me. I mean, you get that moment where, like, the two Flashes say that Barbie line, and then the Barbie song was supposed to be in the movie, and then it isn't. It's very awkward. The whole climax is very awkward because, like people have said, it is very much trying to do, like, a Ragnarok thing with, like, this rock song playing while they all beat people up. And it does not work at all because all I'm thinking about are, like, 10 different things in the movie that all feel like Frankensteined in. It's so awkward. But don't worry, because that is not the climax. The climax actually comes afterwards, and it is so much worse. Like, it's so bad. The climax was the moment in the movie, like, while I was in the theater, where I was the most not having fun, because what the fuck was even happening? So after Batman and Supergirl die, the two Flashes are like, why don't we just time travel back? And so they go into that horrible CGI world that I hate looking at. So then the 2013 version of The Flash gets, like, really angry and keeps trying to save Supergirl and Batman over and over again. And it becomes very awkward because why? Why is he the one who's so obsessed? He's been the Flash for, like, 3 days. And then obviously it turns out that he's actually the twist villain, which you could have seen coming a while away. Like, there's a shot earlier in the movie where it just makes it really obviously he's going to be the main villain. It's pretty obvious, and then out of nowhere, a third Flash comes who showed up previously in the movie, who's like a future version of 2013 Barry, and everything just becomes very confusing because our two main villains are now a guy who should not at all even be in this movie and a guy who isn't in this movie for like most of the runtime. It's very, very strange. And then Barry has to convince his counterpart to, not kind of destroy the entire universe by repeatedly trying to do the same thing over and over again. And basically, the message is, like, you kind of just have to move on, which is very similar to Barry with his mom. It's a pretty straightforward message that, again, you could have seen coming a mile away. And then you get the dead people cameos. It is so crazy that in a movie in which they allowed Ezra Miller to remain on set despite them terrorizing Hawaii, we had something that might actually be more evil. So here we get terrible looking CGI cameos from basically like zombie actors, including a man who committed suicide because he hated playing Superman so much. And they put him in this movie. Possibly the most corporate thing they ever could have done is resurrect multiple dead people who didn't even need to be in this movie and then put them in the movie. I can't actually believe it. And it's what I said at the beginning. The movie itself is like not that good, but it's not even that bad. These, like, corporate things, such as keeping Ezra Miller around even though James Gunn fired, like, half of the DC cast, and then putting in deceased actors in your movie with them not even looking good. Like, at the very least, and I mean, this still would have been horrible, terrible. It would have been absolute degenerate garbage. The CGI doesn't even look good. They spent $220 million on this movie, and they're not getting that back, by the way. This movie bombed. And it looks like shit. And this movie really is offensive. I honestly wanted it to be like a 1 out of 10 movie, just so that I could make fun of it even more. But it's not even bad enough where I'm gonna remember it. The plot is like okay. The characters are stupid, but not even that bad. Like, this isn't shitting on The Flash or Batman or Supergirl really that much. It's just kind of shitting on movies in general outside of the movie. The worst parts of this movie are not in the movie, they're just the ways that it was made. Ezra Miller, a literal criminal, main character in the movie, playing two main characters in the movie. Meanwhile, they will not respect a man who committed suicide because of the film industry. And that just makes me want to never support DC again. Blue Beetle is probably going to bomb even harder, let's be honest. And with that, I will give my first score on this little channel. I mean, to be fair, I did Spider-Verse, but that was obviously a 10. I think I said it like 3 times during the video without even making a big deal of it. This movie, I think I'm going to actually give a 0.5 score. I'm going to give this movie a 3.5 out of 10. Let's go with that. This movie fucking sucks. It's really bad, and do not go watch it. To be fair, even if you do, they're still gonna bomb. They're gonna lose so much money. But it's just not worth it. It's not even worth making fun of it. This movie is not fun. And it's 2 hours, 45 minutes. This movie sucks. We all knew it was gonna suck. It's not even as fun as I thought it was gonna be. So, bye, I guess. He didn't even put the baby in the microwave in that shot. He was taking it out, and they reversed it. How disappointing. Super fresh.